Third one that was not an illegal connection, but was a meter that was potentially damaged. We can't tell whether it was or was not, but the meter box was destroyed and the meter was not registering, but they had a faucet connected without a valve. It just came out with a 3/4 inch PVC pipe, and they had a faucet out in the property, and that faucet was running at about 10 gallons a minute, and the meter was not registering.
Wow.
Okay, so these were all things that were discovered through that process, and so we should start to see some changes in the numbers. Those were about the 20th of last month, between the 13th and the 20th, that those were discovered and turned off. And so then then the emergency barge project, we've received, as of December 12th, our engineered plans and specifications for that. We're reviewing those now. And it looks like that initial concept that we have of taking those motors out, the diesel motors that power the outdrive, and installing the pumps in that location will function, which is what we were hoping for, because that's the perfect location for them. There may be some issues with the amount of tilt that we can get to be able to, during transport, as long as we can work with it being 1.5 foot below the boat, you know, then we'll be okay. But we'll find that out from the fabricator. So the next thing is we'll have the plans approved by probably midweek next week. Then we got to confirm that the quotes that were issued by the vendor work, the proposals that work for that came from the vendor from Twin Lakes works with those engineered plans and specs, and then we can take action on moving forward with that renovation project. I summarized in this report the results of the leak detection survey. 1,344 service lines surveyed, 18 service line leaks located, 7 leaks that were identified in or near the meter box.
When you say service line leaks, we don't know how much is leaking off of that, we just know they're leaking.
Very obvious leaks, just don't know.
Okay.
I mean, we could have gone out and dug them up, but we were really looking for which service lines we were going to send the contractor after first when we bid the job out. And this will be them. And we will likely have on the January agenda, we'll revisit the service line replacement project. We've already authorized it to go out to bid, but now it's going to include this 18. It's going to include the trench repairs, the asphalt trench repairs of all the services that have been done for the last 3 years. The permanent repairs and some other things related to meters and water loss. The 2 illegal connections, the one connection on Coronado that was running through a meter that didn't function, and 84 service lines that could not be located. So those are on vacant parcels in locations where we've never had to access them, and they couldn't find the meter box. They didn't look extensively, they weren't directed to stay with it and, you know, spend weeks and weeks looking for them. They spent quite a bit of time looking for, they had 160 that they couldn't find. They narrowed that down to 84, so they found half of what they were looking for. So we still need to go out, have somebody go out with a metal detector and see if we can find the remnants of the rebar.
How will
from
that
them.
show up on your map?
What's that? They show where they are, but that doesn't mean that is where they are.
And they're not mapped, the map does not indicate that we can't find them. I mean, there's nothing on that that indicates that we can't find them.
Not yet, it could.
Okay.
In fact, it would be easy because the report has a list, and all we have to do is give that to CalCat and they'll light it up. Just take them an hour and it's lit up so that we can see where all those are. And then it's a matter of, you know, going out there and, you know, they were maybe with a backhoe digging along the edge of the road, whatever it is, to try to figure out where it is. metal detector first, but it'll take some time. We may be able to have that as part of the contract with the contractor for the grant work to locate those and get those checked out and replaced if they're bad. You know, get the meter boxes reset and all that, so that we can monitor those for leakage in the future. Or stolen water. Who knows, some of these could be connected directly to a pipe. And you know, so we need to proceed with that. And another thing that is gonna come up a little later in the agenda is just that we have submitted what USDA is calling an approved reimbursement request. They've approved our outlay report, and so we actually have the receivable for the revenue from USDA, and we also have an approved reimbursement request to DWR, and so we are expecting to have to go to the treasurer's report for $400,000 to come in relatively soon. So when we get there, I'll show it to you if you didn't see it. And then I also updated the leak reports, not that is a huge discussion, and we continue to see leakage somewhere between 24 and 33%, and a number of factors can contribute to that. I'm not absolutely convinced anymore that those 18 service lines are what's leaking that, but we need to give it a month to see how that reacts now, not having those two illegal connections and that other service line running. Because that could be a big chunk of that.
So you said one of those, that one is on Coronado?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Huh. So I think that's pretty much about it.
Could you give us a preview, just a real quick? You said on the map that there were marked where service lines had been replaced, and we know where 18 more are. Is it turning out to be random, or they seem to be pretty localized?
You know, we just gave that to them, we just sent it to them this week, so they haven't.
But you've
it's not
seen it,
on
I mean, do you think it's random, or?
Until I see it visually on a
Okay.
wall map with everything on one page, instead of 17 pages.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? I'll see it here soon, and I hope it's obvious. Elizabeth doesn't think it is, just based on, you know, looking at the randomness of it. But I think, you know, whether it's the type of soil in the location, you know how we've got some areas where there's no soil, and some where there's some soil. I think something's gonna stand out, because we will have to make a decision in January about if we're going to be replacing some service lines in suspect areas that aren't actively leaking right now.
Thank you for your report, that's a very good report.
Mr. President, did I miss the report on operations manager?
I was gonna ask that if he was gonna be present today. Is your operations manager present, or he's not, he wasn't online?
Our operations supervisor is on site with Berry Electric troubleshooting and repairing a problem at the booster pumps at Negro. They've been working on it for a few days. We've had some pretty serious trouble up there.
That's Randy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tries and made to get him here today, or to get a report prepared last week. He's, he's working on the same things that I've reported on. Other than operating a treatment plant,
Right.
he's dealing with customer meters, he's dealing with,
Yeah, I saw him this morning at our place.
so he's dealing with customer meters and service orders. He's dealing with, did the map updates and made sure that those were right. He's working on getting the barge pumps serviced. and, basically just holding it together.
Okay.
Excuse me, that wasn't answering my question. I asked what was in his GM report. Here, operations manager position, we are working with a human resources consulting firm to revise and review the job descriptions and to potentially advertise again, looking specifically for management and leadership skills. We are also developing a modified inter-protocol to assist in evaluating candidates using real-time scenarios. But GM Campa changed it to operations supervisor and started talking about Randy.
No, he addressed that
He
earlier
addressed
in
that
his
earlier.
report.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so where are we? Are we gonna hire one here pretty soon or what? Because in that Tuolumne hazardous thing, it brags that we have all the staffing necessary to do all these things, and we're down, I thought, one person. So how can that be a true statement in that support material for a resolution for that hazardous program when we don't even have the operations manager, yet you state we did?
All right, we'll take that into consideration.
I mean, that's the cart before the horse again, isn't it?
We'll take that.
We'll be getting an operations manager just as quickly as we can.
And the place is running, it actually is working. I mean, people have water, and the plant's running, and the system's working, and we are doing what we have to do. Not ideal, but
It's a lot more work. Yeah, it's a lot more work to do it this way, but
My eyes have been burning for a week. I'm just joking.
Southern California, it's low.
That's Southern California.
I'm just joking.
All right.
Yeah, it says, Lake Don Pedro Community Services District has well-qualified staffing and organizational capability.
We are
And
meeting.
field staff under the direction of the water operations manager.
We are
We're
meeting
gonna
the
get to
needs,
that.
we are meeting the needs of the people of this district at this point right now, so I think we could go on.
No, you misunderstand what I'm saying. It's saying that we have the staffing available and the operations manager to go forward with the Tuolumne hazardous thing, and we don't. So this is really misinformation in the resolution.
We'll correct that.
Don't worry, it's not the purpose anyway.
No, I know it's not the purpose. The purpose is to get ground wells for more expansion outside the DOU. I know that.
That's not even-
All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Okay, I think sure means he will, and I'll second it.
Huh. Thanks, Jimmy.
Is that included in the treasurer's report?
Yes. Did you have a
I'd like
comment?
to- Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. I didn't have time to look at this, but I remember, or not look at closely, but I remember one thing, and I've noticed it for a long time, and then we were talking about the wells again. Where were your financial statements on? Let's see if this has got numbers on it. Mine doesn't have numbers on it, but anyway, it's a statement of revenue and expenses, the third page, no, second page, no, first page. This thing.
Oh, okay.
Financial account. And I don't mean don't because of format, et cetera, I mean, it's just a don't in the general ledger. Anyway, speaking of your wells, why is it, according to these numbers, that we only run well number 2? I know well number 1, the old one, I know it's been down. But why, and I know the board had assigned and it talked about having the wells run on a alternate
Alternately.
basis. How come we only show PG&E power to the well number 2? And I think that's it, just well number 2? Yeah, and the 23, 24, that's just some kind of fixed charges, I assume. But for all intents and purposes, we don't show any. And I know I've got a letter from old Wammerdam that says we do accruals and things like that, so I know it can't be just a proration or something. It's gotta be not running the wells, right? Wrong.
The wells are running.
I'm sorry?
The wells are running.
Are they
You're not gonna tell me our financial statements are no good.
Are they,
Wait, Wes, I'm confused. You're saying the wells aren't, we're not paying
Well,
electricity
if I
for
read
the
the
wells?
financial statements, and I
Okay.
know,
We have one person on the floor at a time, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, I know, I'm reading the financial statements, and I've been told, I don't know how many times it's slapped around that our financial statements are great. It says we're not running them. Well, I'm just asking why. I mean, it looks like we're not running, yet we say we are running them.
Do they all run off the same meter?
No.
Anyway,
You-
I know I'm not allowed to have an answer.
We will have an answer for you.
I know I'm not allowed to have an answer, so I
We
wouldn't expect.
will have an answer for you next month.
Okay, well, next month I'll have, if I get this time, I'll have a chance to look at it, because I bet I can find some more.
All right, I appreciate your comment. yeah. Okay, so did anyone else have a comment regarding the agenda, the consent agenda? Okay, you were gonna make a motion?
Yeah.
Wes made it, I second it.
Well, it was just real quick, it's just reiterating, you know, where it says that one person commented, that was me last time. And that was when I requested the agenda, request information on what Mr. Campa says is just a simple mistake that the State Water Board made when they did their detailed investigation of our district.
All right.
So we do have a motion on the floor?
Yeah,
Is that
motion
where
and
we're
second.
at? Okay.
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry. So we have a motion, we have a second from Emery.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay, so the motion passes. We have two, I should have mentioned this earlier, we have two people absent, but we have three people that approve the agenda, that approve the consent agenda. And with that, we'll go on to the next item, which is item A under 5, the adoption of the resolution approving the multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan, which includes an annex for Lake Don Pedro CSD.
This was on the agenda at the last meeting, but the annex was not complete. The annex had to include some of the information that the county was putting together. This is the version that has that information contained in it. The county is scheduled to approve it tomorrow, and that includes all of the attachments, which are these annexes for the individual entities. The reason that it was suggested that we participate in this is because last year, not last year, but in the beginning of the heavy planning for the drought in 2015, the county was being awarded money for various purposes related to the fire and ongoing drought, the rim fire, ongoing drought, and other emergencies that they were going through with the tree mortality and everything else. And there was a notice of funding available for the hazard mitigation grants. In order to be eligible for a hazard mitigation grant, to submit an application, you have to have approved a hazard mitigation plan. So we were unable to, even though I prepared a letter of interest, which is the first step in the process, we were not able to submit a request for funding. So the county suggested that we prepare this and submit it to them for their next iteration of update. They're updating it now, but at the same time, there's a grant source out there to readdress the entire plan again. About every 5 years, there's this grant funding that comes up to really look in detail. So the majority of these annexes, or these individual agency plans, were done the last time they had a grant and they had a consultant come in and put it together. So this is based off of that format that they used, and it contains that information that was in all of the other plans. So the main thing to understand about this is that there are countywide actions and actions by the other fire departments and entities included in this as well to address certain hazards that have been identified. In addition, there are actions that are in here that are specifically related to the district. Looking at our water supply, so that in the event that either by regulatory means or by equipment failure or by dam failure or by whatever, pump failure, whatever it is, drought, we are unable to get water from Lake McClure. Do we have an adequate water supply? If we don't, how does that happen? Is it groundwater? Is it another surface water source? Is it another floating pump a mile down? What is it? So those that type of evaluation is listed in here as a potential solution to mitigate a long-term drought or other emergency.
This quick question,
Yeah.
because it came up before and it's not addressed in this, is because we are closely connected and have more lots in Mariposa County, and this is a Tuolumne County effort. Mariposa doesn't do this, doesn't have this. I mean, it seems like we're kind of the redheaded stepchild to Tuolumne versus Mariposa.
Well, I don't know that I call it that because they've been really accommodating and very, very interested.
I like what I saw, but
They're
the
very
question
much
is
engaged.
Mariposa.
I do not know what the county of Mariposa has in place. I mean, I can talk with their director of emergency services. The intent was definitely to submit this to them. I mean, it doesn't affect the components that are in here that recognize what the county's gonna be doing, don't necessarily affect them.
If you submitted this to Mariposa County, they would probably go ahead and update theirs very much like Tuolumne.
I did a Google search I put the
Yeah.
multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, and I took out Tuolumne and put Mariposa County, and nothing came up.
But if we submitted one to Mariposa County, I'm sure they would create an item that had to be updated and they would make an update. I'm sure that's what would happen.
I would think that, if they don't have it in place, that with this current grant cycle of being able to have the money to hire a consultant to put the plan together, that they would do it considering what all of the excitement with the Detweiler fire and everything else, so. I mean, we'll send it to them as is if it's approved, but at the same time, certainly if they're gonna prepare a plan, this would be a great time for us to step in and say, hey, we've done this in Tuolumne County, we wanna make sure we're included if you're gonna be developing a plan for Mariposa if they don't have it. So, good question.
But Mr. President, didn't
The,
they send the information to Mariposa? I thought I read in there that all the information had been sent to Mariposa and other local agencies for everybody to be educated and to know what was going on with this project. So if they did do that, perhaps Mariposa said, we don't want any part of it.
That's a possibility.
I read this whole thing, I never saw it.
Oh, yeah, I'll find it for you.
Okay, so meanwhile, let me finish the discussion about where we have added the mitigation objectives specific for the district. So it would be water supply.
What page are you on?
Evaluation, well, let's go. The easiest place is gonna be toward the back. In 5.
Page 19.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna rely on page numbers here, because I'm on page 33. Is it page 19 of the plan? I don't see a,
It's
18, who said? Who said 18?
No, for what we were talking.
it's under, it's so if you, if you continue through the plan and you get into the section that is
Jurisdiction.
the goals, section C, goals, objectives, and mitigation actions for 2018, goal 1, goal 2, mine shows page 29, I don't know.
That's what it is.
Okay.
No, it's actually 20.
Well,
It's in two different places.
Okay,
goal 3, then goal 4.
Yeah.
When you get to,
okay, 29.
when you get to goal 5, where the objective is to continue to comprehensively reduce the level of damage and loss due to wildfires through vegetation management, code enforcement, GIS mapping, and planning process. Under 5H, or 5.1H, work with Lake Don Pedro Community Service District to improve system reliability, redundancy, and increase water supply in their responsibility areas. That is simply just, that's a county action that they will support our activities, as I talked about, in the event that additional ground or surface water is required to make sure that we maintain water supply for the community. The next page, 5.1I, these, the numbers that they've got here are not quite right. Work with Lake Don Pedro Community Service District, PG&E, to improve the reliability of the electrical grid and provide the emergency backup power supply. We don't have backup power at the treatment plant or at the pump locations, so that we rely on the amount of water we have in storage and the fact that we're going to get power supply back quick enough for our pumps to come on and fill it up. If we had a week without power in the middle of summer, that's going to be, we would certainly go and get generators, portable generators, and bring those back and have Bear Electric come out and help us